Let's talk about masks, shall we? The beautifully painted, perfectly polished, completely fake faces people wear every single day. You look around and what do you see? A world full of actors, desperately reading from a script they never even wrote. They walk into a room, scan the crowd, and instantly start calculating. Who do I need to be today? What smile do I need to wear? What opinion should I regurgitate to fit in? They bend, they fold, they slice off pieces of their own souls just to violently squeeze themselves into the tiny, pathetic boxes society built for them. And they call it survival. They call it being polite. They call it playing the game. But let me tell you what it actually is. It is the slowest, most excruciating form of suicide. Because every single time you put on that mask, every time you nod when you want to scream, every time you laugh at a joke that isn't funny, you are literally burying yourself alive. You think the mask protects you. You think it keeps you safe from their judgment, their rejection, their vicious whispers. But the mask doesn't protect you from the world. It completely isolates you from it. You end up living in a fragile glass house, safe, sterile, and completely suffocating. And the terrible irony? The people you are so desperately trying to please, they don't even see you, they see the mask. They fall in love with the mask, they hire the mask, they praise the mask. And deep down, in the cold, quiet hours of the night, you are left completely alone, wondering if anyone on this earth would even look at you if you finally decided to take it off. That is exactly what makes this world so incredibly sick. We have created a society that viciously punishes authenticity and generously rewards deception. We are taught from the exact moment we can walk that the truth is dangerous, that raw honesty makes people uncomfortable, that showing your actual scars is a sign of pathetic weakness. So what do people do? They hide. They hide their pain. They hide their rage. They hide their brilliant, chaotic, messy truth behind a wall of perfectly manicured normal. They become utterly terrified of being too much, too loud, too intense, too real. And in their frantic desperation to not be too much, they end up becoming absolutely nothing at all. Just another boring, predictable ghost haunting the background of someone else's story. But not you. You tried to wear the mask, didn't you? You tried to play their little game. You tried to force your wild, unpredictable fire into their neat little fireplace. And it almost destroyed you. Because you cannot cage a storm. You cannot force a wolf to apologize for having teeth. The mask never fit right on your face. It felt heavy. It felt suffocating. It felt like a lie that was actively poisoning your blood. And that is exactly when you realize the ultimate truth. The most dangerous, terrifying, liberating truth in this entire world. You do not have to wear the mask. You do not have to apologize for the space you take up. You do not have to shrink yourself so others can feel big. The moment you forcefully rip that mask off your face, the moment you stand completely naked in the glaring spotlight of your own truth, the world violently shifts. People will stare, they will point, they will desperately try to shame you back into hiding. But beneath their loud, pathetic outrage, beneath their vicious whispers and their pointing fingers, there is something else. Pure, unadulterated terror, because when they look at you, standing there completely unbothered, utterly refusing to play by their fake rules, they don't just see a rebel. They see exactly what they are too cowardly to become. They see absolute freedom. And freedom terrifies a world that is addicted to chains. Let's dissect that terror, shall we? Why exactly does your raw authenticity scare them so deeply? Because your truth acts as a massive, unforgiving mirror. When you forcefully refuse to wear a mask, you instantly highlight the painful reality that everyone else is still wearing one. You become a walking, breathing interruption to their carefully orchestrated play. They desperately want to believe that the fake world they've built is the only reality. They need to believe that playing it safe, swallowing their true feelings, and following the script is the only way to survive. And then, you walk in. You don't apologize for your scars. You don't hide your darkness. You don't try to smooth out your rough, jagged edges. You just exist, wildly, unapologetically. And your mere existence loudly screams, everything you are doing is a complete and utter lie. That is exactly why they try to tear you down. That is why they will call you crazy, unhinged, dangerous. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you are doing, and everything to do with what you are exposing. You are exposing their profound cowardice. They look at your fire, and instead of feeling warmth, they only feel the agonizing chill of their own frozen souls. They resent you for having the sheer audacity to break out of the prison they are too terrified to even question. So they will try to drag you back down. They will use every trick in the book. They will use guilt. They will use shame. They will use the heavy, suffocating pressure of isolation to try and force the mask back onto your face. Why can't you just be normal? They will whine. Why do you always have to make things so difficult? But you must understand, their definition of normal is just an agreed-upon sickness. Their normal is a slow, quiet death. It is a life lived entirely on a leash, walking in endless circles, desperately waiting for a pat on the head from a master who doesn't even care about them. And you? You were never meant for the leash. You were never meant to shrink into a convenient, digestible, bite-sized piece for someone else's comfort. The moment you stop caring about their comfort is the exact moment you reclaim your soul. It is a violent transition. Do not let anyone lie to you and say it is easy. Shedding the skin of who you thought you were supposed to be is agonizing. It hurts to let go of the people who only loved your mask. It hurts to stand completely alone in a room full of people who are desperately trying to ignore your truth. But that pain is the heavy price of admission to real life. Because the alternative is infinitely worse. The alternative is dying quietly inside that glass house, surrounded by people who never actually knew the real you. You must learn to violently guard your authenticity. You must protect it like the rare, dangerous weapon it is. When the world demands a polite smile and you only have a cold stare, give them the cold stare. When the world demands a convenient apology and you have absolutely no regrets, give them silence. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them squirm in their seats. Let them choke on the heavy, suffocating weight of your unadulterated reality. Their comfort is not your responsibility. Their fragile little worldview is not your problem to solve. Because the beautiful, terrifying truth is, the only people who will genuinely stay with you when you rip off the mask are the people who are finally ready to take off their own. Your raw truth acts as a brutal filter. It aggressively repels the fake, the weak, and the cowardly. And what it leaves behind? It leaves behind the few, rare souls who are actually capable of staring into the dark. It leaves behind the ones who respect the wolf, not the ones who constantly demand it act like a sheep. So stop trying to fit in. Stop trying to soften your blow. You were born to be a sharp edge in a world full of dull, boring circles. Own your edge. Let it cut. Let it violently disrupt the fake peace. Because a disruptive truth is always better than a comfortable lie. Have you ever stopped to actually watch them? The people who spend their entire lives dedicated to maintaining the lie. It is exhausting just to witness. They constantly scan the room, their eyes darting back and forth, desperate for a tiny nod of approval, a small sign that their performance is working. They live in a perpetual state of hypervigilance, terrified that at any moment the mask might slip, terrified that someone might catch a glimpse of the absolute chaos raging beneath the surface. They spend so much energy trying to look completely whole, they don't even realize they are slowly fracturing into a million tiny pieces. And the most tragic part? The deeper they bury their truth, the more desperately it claws to get out. You can see it in their sudden, inexplicable bursts of anger over trivial things. You can see it in the heavy, hollow sadness that completely washes over their face the exact second they think no one is looking. The body always keeps the score. The mind always violently remembers what you tried to aggressively forget. They think they have successfully locked the monster in the basement, but the monster doesn't die in the dark. It just gets hungrier, it gets meaner, and eventually, it always finds a way out. It leaks out in their vicious gossip. It bleeds out in their passive-aggressive jabs. It explodes in moments of utter, unhinged breakdown that they will later frantically try to excuse as just a bad day. But there are no just bad days. There is only the truth finally breaking through the fragile glass. When you live a life built entirely on suppression, every single step you take is a lie. Every relationship you build is founded on a total fiction, and a foundation built on fiction will inevitably, violently collapse. That is exactly why you must strictly refuse to participate in their collective delusion. When you choose to step out of the illusion, you become immune to the collapse, because you have absolutely nothing left to hide. What can they possibly use against you when you have already aggressively laid your darkest truths bare? How can they possibly threaten to expose you when you have already willingly stood completely naked in the light? They can't. That is the absolute, untouchable power of owning your shit. When you look your own demons in the eye, acknowledge them, and proudly wear your scars, you completely disarm the entire world. You steal their ammunition. You take away the only leverage they ever thought they had. They want to shame you for your past? Laugh at them, because your past is exactly what forged the heavy iron you stand on today. They want to point out your flaws. Point them out yourself, louder and clearer than they ever could. Take their pathetic weapons and turn them into your armor, because a person who completely accepts their own darkness is terrifying to a world that spends all its time running from it. You become a paradox, a riddle they cannot forcefully solve. You are completely flawed, yet completely unbreakable. You are heavily scarred, yet undeniably whole. And that makes you incredibly dangerous, because you no longer need the world's permission to simply exist. You no longer need their pathetic applause to feel valid. You have discovered the ultimate, closely guarded secret, the only approval that actually matters, the only validation that holds any real weight, is the one you aggressively give to yourself in the dead of the night, when absolutely no one else is watching. So let them frantically cling to their fragile masks. Let them exhaust themselves running desperately on the hamster wheel of social expectation. Let them live their quiet, comfortable, thoroughly dead lives. You step off the wheel. You shatter the glass house. You look the world dead in the eye and say, "This is exactly who I am. This is the monster. This is the saint. This is the entire chaotic masterpiece." And if they can't handle the intensity of that reality, then they were never meant to share your space in the first place. Let the weak run. Let the cowards fiercely hide. You stand your ground. Because in a world desperately drowning in a sea of identical fakes, the only thing that will ever truly survive is the raw, uncut, unapologetic truth. And when you fully embody that truth, something miraculous and deeply disturbing happens. You stop caring about the outcome. You stop caring whether they love you or utterly despise you. You stop caring whether they applaud your arrival or viciously celebrate your departure. Because the outcome is entirely out of your control, and true power lies in completely letting go of what you cannot physically grasp. Most people are heavily chained to the outcome, They desperately twist themselves into knots, frantically trying to manipulate every situation to ensure they get the right reaction. They change their words to avoid conflict. They hide their brilliant ideas to avoid criticism. They are constantly playing a pathetic game of emotional chess, completely terrified of making the wrong move. But when you truly let go, when you fiercely embrace your authenticity, you step entirely off the chessboard. You realize that the game was always an illusion. You realize that the only move that actually matters is the one that violently aligns with your own soul. If speaking your truth causes a massive explosion, let it explode. If showing your real face burns down the bridge, let it burn. Because any bridge that violently catches fire the exact moment you decide to be real was a bridge leading straight to a prison anyway. You don't need it. You never actually needed it. You must learn to find immense comfort in the absolute destruction of fake things. Learn to smile when the weak run away. Learn to laugh when the easily offended inevitably take offense. Their reaction is not a reflection of your failure. It is a brilliant confirmation of your power. You have forcefully disturbed their forced peace. You have aggressively shaken their fragile reality. You have forced them to momentarily wake up from their sleep, even if they immediately close their eyes again in sheer terror. And that is your ultimate purpose. Not to be loved, not to be comfortably understood, not to be the safe, quiet background character in their boring lives. Your purpose is to be the violent interruption, to be the heavy stone thrown into their perfectly still, stagnant pond, to be the roaring fire that violently exposes the shadows they worked so desperately hard to hide. So wear your truth like a heavy, iron crown. Wear it proudly, aggressively, and without a single ounce of apology. Let the weight of it crush anyone who isn't strong enough to stand next to you. Let your absolute authenticity be the harsh, glaring spotlight that forces the entire world to finally stop acting and start living. Because the absolute brutal reality is this: you only get one life. One fleeting, chaotic, agonizingly brief chance to actually exist. Are you really going to spend it desperately hiding behind a cheap, painted mask, terrified of what a bunch of equally terrified people might possibly think of you? Are you really going to let your fire slowly die out, just so you don't accidentally burn the fragile hands of the people who never even bothered to try and understand you? No. You let it burn. You let it burn so incredibly bright and so violently hot that they have no choice but to either fiercely respect the flame or run completely terrified into the dark. The choice is theirs. But the absolute, undeniable power, the completely untouchable, unshakable power of the naked truth, that belongs entirely to you. Now, take the mask off. Drop it completely on the floor. Crush it violently under your heel. And let the whole world finally see the beautiful, terrifying masterpiece they have been desperately trying to hide from. Because it most simply cannot handle that kind of brutal mirror. It takes immense discipline to stay perfectly calm in the dead middle of chaos. Discipline most people do not want to build because it genuinely hurts.